Okay, welcome everyone. I believe I am live. I am a little early, so I'm just waiting and making sure everything's working. Looks like everything is working. Happy Sunday, Dave. Can you hear me okay? Terrific. Hi, Carol. Thank you. Good to know. We had technical difficulties with Facebook yesterday, so I'm glad the YouTube is working well. Seems to be a little smoother overall. So we're still a little early. I imagine people are going to roll in. Can I see who's here? Hmm. I can't really see everybody's here. That's fine. But Dave and Carol, if you have questions, go ahead and let me know while I'm cleaning my glasses. Hi, Melissa. So my audio seems good, Melissa? Dave said so too, but I just want to double check that we're good. Okay, great. You got a crown. I don't know what these crowns are, what they mean. I haven't gone live on YouTube in a long time. Actually, it's very smooth. It seems very streamlined. It's like 100 times better than Facebook. Hello, hello. Hi, Chris. I don't know how to say your name. Iperagia. I think those are like first commenter, maybe. Although Carol was the second, and you have the same crown as Carol, so I'm not sure. 5 by 5. Okay, good. Hi, Zoe. Welcome. You're just gonna follow me on whatever platform I go, huh? So far, YouTube is winning in the live streaming uh, ease of use category. Oh, you're number one fan? Is that because you keep commenting? Interesting. I don't know how it works. Interesting. Okay, well, welcome everybody. I can't even see how many people are in here. But it doesn't matter. If you have a question, go ahead and put it in the comments, and then I'm going to ask for help. Even though Melissa's here, I don't know if I can make you an admin or anything. I cannot. Oh, I can add you as a moderator. Okay. Okay, Melissa. I don't know if you're staying or not, Melissa. You don't have to if you've got stuff to do. But you're now a moderator just in case. Yay! There's a little wrench next to your name. That's cute. While we're waiting for people to join, and if you guys have questions, I know people start out shy, but I will encourage you to not be shy with your questions. There's really no such thing. I think that the phrase "there's no such thing as a bad question." It's not true, and I think we all know it. What we mean is there's any question asked in good faith is a good question. I mean, I think there's plenty of bad faith questions and people who don't really want an answer and people who are just, trying to bait you and things like that. But otherwise, if you have a question, as long as you ask it in good faith, which means basically that you're sincere in asking the question, I will happily answer it. And don't be worried about me. That's something that came up recently. a student was afraid to ask a question because they're, oh, you probably answered it a million times. It's like, yeah, I probably have. I mean, I've been teaching now for 20 years. So I've probably answered that question before, and that's literally my job. And I love my job. So don't, uh, that's no reason to not ask a question, right? Uh, and it can be something related because I think sometimes some of you guys, you don't have access. I mean, obviously, if you're my student, you have access to me, but some of you from other schools, or if you're just kind of, you know, taking a peek into what I do and what we do here in Flowing Zen, um, you just maybe have not had direct access to a good teacher, and also like somebody who just gives you kind of honest answers without the bullshit. So, if you have questions about qigong, tai chi, kung fu, Chinese medicine, all these things are connected anyway, and it could be something that doesn't seem directly connected. Then go ahead and ask your question. That's I think it's not only important, but it's arguably necessary for practicing these arts in the 21st century. It's funny because we're on YouTube right now, and uh, a lot of people will just say, "Oh, you can learn qigong on YouTube," and of course that's true. You can learn just about anything on YouTube, right? But learning qigong is maybe not enough. You need actual instruction and support and community. In the Buddhist tradition, that's called Sangha, right? You have this community. And I think that the same is true of Qigong. That, like, okay, Buddhism can be practiced on its own, and maybe you could learn some meditation from a YouTube video, but that's not going to give you the experience of having a teacher that you can interact with and a community that supports you in your efforts to meditate or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Okay, who's going to be brave and ask a question? Oh, I wanted to talk briefly about gatekeepers because someone just asked a question, and I was just thinking about it before I joined because I was answering it over there. I'm going to go finish answering the. I don't know why I'm pointing over there because I was over there when when I was answering the question. Um, so the question doesn't really matter. Is more about, like, practicing. Is some stuff that my ex teacher had said about, like, if you practice these two arts, they'll cancel each other out. Um, and they were asking this question relating to their own practice, especially in terms of like more advanced practices like Cosmos Palm, which we do in the 301 at the end. Uh, but I just want to remind everybody that, like, you really have to be wary of, or at least mindful of, the gatekeepers. This is true of most any art. Um, Gatekeepers are the people who attain a little bit of a knowledge and then hoard it and try to keep others out. And I've been kind of like an anti-gatekeeper for almost 20 years now. There's a lot of gatekeeping built into the tradition of Qigong and Tai Chi in the way of secrecy. I mean, this is an old tradition. I wrote about it in my book, The Tradition of Secrecy. And that's gotten passed on in the West and to the second and third generation teachers. Uh, and it's a problem, and you should watch out for it because you need to make sure that when you're being told certain things about qigong, tai chi, kung fu, even Chinese medicine, that they are not trying to gatekeep something. And that's a good example, like this idea of, like, oh, you can't practice these two arts at the same time; they'll cancel each other out. Can't cancel each other out? Like, what is this? Like, is this electrical engineering? Like, I don't. You would have to explain it in more depth to really give a good answer. Um, And then the question is, like, it always comes back to epistemology. And I won't say that I'm, the only qigong teacher there that has an open and clear commitment to epistemology. Epistemology means, like, the philosophy of figuring out how you know what you know, and also what you believe, because very often you believe things because of what you know. So, how do I know that a lot of these things are in qigong and tai chi are bullshit? Well, there's an epistemology to how I arrive at these conclusions, and I will share it with you if you have questions about that. And a lot of teachers are not like that. Like, if you ask them, "Whoa, why did you say that? Why did you say this thing about qigong and tai chi?" They might say, like, Oh, it will block the flow of energy. So, well, why did you say this? And you can ask them sincerely and, in good faith, but they're not going to have a good answer. In fact, a traditional teacher might literally just say, because I said so. They just want you to stop asking questions, stay in line, and practice. And there is a method to that, in the sense of, there's a way to foster the Zen mind with strict master student um, discipline, but it doesn't work very well in the West. Most of us cannot do that. So we need real answers. If I tell you to do this and you ask me why, I need to give you a real answer that's not just recycling some sort of bullshit or something. Okay, so look for those answers from teachers. If you have a teacher that doesn't give good answers and you don't like it, it doesn't mean you can't learn something from them, but you should be wary, right? You can continue to learn some things, take the good. I talk about this in my book as well. Take the good, discard the bad, but just don't give them too much power or too much money. And be very careful and watch out for your own best interests. Okay, Crazy Fingers says, I've been through 101 and 201. I would go through the 5 phase routine 1 to 2 times a day. Fantastic. That's amazing. Would 301 exercises be in addition to the 5 phase routine or replacing some of what I'm doing now? Probably replacing it. We use the 5 phase routine for, I won't say all of the 301, but for probably most of it, maybe 80% of it. Um, there are some practices that you can do with either a morphed version of the 5 phase routine or like a truncated version, like the small universe, you can do differently. But you're going to be using the 5 phase routine. So you're practicing, let's say, 10 to 14 times per week. You're just going to make one of those a couple of those maybe per week, a 301 session. It'll fit in perfectly. Plus, you're going to be able to cycle in some of those other exercises. Like, we're in fact recycling, I suppose you could say, some of the techniques from the 101 and 201 in the 301. So, like, we'll use pushing mountains for bone marrow washing and for Cosmos Palm. So, you'll be using those exercises, but at a much deeper level. Chris says, hi, Sifu. I've been working with a qigong teacher for about a year in person for a 1 hour class once per week. 99% of students are 75 and up. I'm 58. Instruction was very basic and slow. Yeah, they're probably matching to the class. Instruction was haphazard with no plan. That's the norm, even to this day. It's getting better, but it's still the norm. I've been practicing the 5 phase routine for 3 months now. Fantastic. I th- I think I would be fine in the 301, and my gut has been telling me to go that route. That's like the answer. I don't even need to read the rest. You've got a couple months practice. You've been doing qigong, and your gut is telling you what to do. That's why I backed out of the decisions, because I've learned from teaching that, like, it's ego. It's like my own ego. And as my ego, I was dissolving it with Qigong and Tai Chi. And then I took a lot of hits to my ego in my life, my personal life, divorce, leaving my teacher, being attacked by a dog, and being disabled. Um, I don't have a lot of that ego stuff left. Some, you need some ego to pay bills and stuff. But you already answered your question, Chris. Like, your gut's telling you you've got enough experience. You feel like you basically know the answer, and you're looking to me for confirmation, which I'll give you. But that's the answer. And what I've learned is that's like, I could say no to you. I could be strict and be like, no, you have to have this. But like, my experience tells me that students like you will take the ball and run with it in the 301. And then you can circle back and learn the 201 and 101 material later if you want to. A lot of students do. Um, I say this, and maybe this will help people. No matter what order you do my 101, 201, and 301 programs, it will be more systematic than the way that I learned. I just, because of the nature of online learning and the nature of my commitment to being a good educator, it does not matter. I mean, you might need to put my book in there. So I assume that you learned from my book or something. So, and my book just contains, like, a distillation of everything I've learned in 30 years. So, uh, the short answer is, I think you're going to be fine. And plus, there's something to be said for striking while the iron is hot. Um, you are motivated for whatever reason. Some of that is none of my business, and sometimes I can't figure it out, but you're motivated to do the 301. So do it. Strike while the iron is hot. Antoinette says, I've been practicing small universe. The way Spring Forest teaches it is the way you teach it different. So it's a little bit different. They use sounds and mantras. Um, they use reverse breathing, which we'll also do, but we'll do that systematically at the end of the progression. So we'll use Dantian breathing, which utilizes diaphragmatic breathing, which is sort of the opposite of reverse breathing. And we use a flow method where we follow the stream of the chi around the small universe. We do highlight different points. So we Tanzhong, well, that's more in the big universe, but we use Dantian and then Huiyin, which is at the perineum, and then Mingmen up to Baihui. So we highlight these points and we consolidate chi at the points, but the emphasis is on the circulation and the flow, which is a little bit different than the Spring Forest approach. Jen says, can you talk more in detail about bone marrow washing and what its benefits are? Yeah, bone marrow washing is, again, kind of, okay, first of all, bone marrow washing in Chinese is Shi Sui Jing. It's a recognized classic, in Qigong, but, what it means in different schools is going to be very different. Just that's true of a lot of things, like Yi Jin Jing, Senior Metamorphosis, which I teach in my Qigong 201 program, is different in different schools. These names of Qigong sets got recycled. Nobody knows which is the original. Lots of people like to pretend that they've got the original version, as if the original version is necessarily better. I mean, maybe I want the updated version. Like, what matters is, like, is it a useful qigong set and is it meaningful? And I think that bone marrow washing is. We take a lot of the exercises. So the physical component of it is we take exercises mainly from the 18 law on hands, and I've inserted a few more in there, which I explain in the program. Like, here's what I learned from my teacher, and here's what I've added, and here's why. And then there's a lot of visualization or internal work, like Neigong. We're moving the chi in specific ways. So bone marrow washing, the way I learned it, is 5 levels. We start at the skin level, which is really more about above the skin. So you're directing chi, the wei chi, the guardian chi, to the skin and outside the skin. Then the next level is the flesh, which includes like sinews, muscles, fascia. Then the next level is the meridian level, which is a little bit deeper. These levels are basically from Chinese medicine. So we're at the meridian level, which is a little bit deeper and runs through the organs, but it's not the organs. And we'll use different exercises to get the qi kind of activated at these levels, but then we're using the mind, shun, the spirit, or yi, intention, to move the qi. And that's the trick of it, right? It's not just the technique that we're using, it's the mind power. Then we go to the organ level, and this is where I deviate a little bit from my teacher or merge some of the teachings that he did, my ex-teacher. So we'll go through each organ as opposed to doing all of the organs at once. So we'll do all of the 5 major organs, and we'll nourish them kind of like I do in my 101, but on a much deeper level. And then the final level is the bone nerve level, which are arguably overlapping. You say nerve because bone marrow and the sea of marrow in Chinese medicine refers more to the central nervous system than the bones. I mean, it does refer to the bones and it refers to the nerves running through the bones, but there's a lot of overlap there. So we go systematically through all 5 levels. Over 10 weeks, we use different exercises, and the benefits are going to, they're going to be general benefits for that layer, right? So like skin layer, obviously it's going to help with skin issues, but it's also very good for boundaries. And like a lot of people talk about, protecting yourself from negative energy. And I just roll my eyes a little bit about that because I don't like new age terminology. I like old age terminology, like ancient age, like qigong. So we have this terminology of wei qi and protective or guardian qi, and that's what it's for. It's going to protect you. It literally will try to protect you from external pathogens, including, jerks and people in your life who try to cross your boundaries. Then, like flesh level is going to help with muscles and spasms and things like that. And, you can just sort of intuit a lot of the issues. Meridian level is going to be a little bit more subtle because it's going to be nourishing the whole meridian system. Uh, but like an obvious example of that is the heart one, which we do in a very subtle way. We try not to direct chi directly to the heart, but I have a very good method in the 301 for opening the heart meridian. Uh, a lot of students told me that it's the best method they've ever experienced for opening the heart, and that's got a lot of benefits, right? Like just opening your heart. Like, how do you track those benefits? I mean, I'm sure it's good for your heart. It's probably good for your creative work, maybe good for your relationships, good for your blood pressure. There's a lot there. Um, and then the nerve level, like, things like neuropathy, uh, like any kind of neuropathic pain like that, or even neurogenic pain like that involves, aggravated nerves. Probably going to, and some students have seen sort of, even students who've been practicing for a long time, um, they've seen tremendous benefits with that level of bone marrow washing. Um, and then anything connected to the nervous system. This is harder for me because it's somewhat newer. Like, I'm not the only one working on this, but like the discussions about trauma and the nervous system are relatively new. I would say 15 to 20 years old. So I happen to think that the marrow nerve level of bone marrow washing is very good for trauma as well. But that's like my opinion and my hypothesis. I have evidence to support that, but um, that's sort of ongoing, if that makes sense. And Jen, let me know if there was more questions. Always welcome to ask follow-up questions, right? Jules. Oh, hi, Jules. You were in Facebook yesterday, right? Is the 101 a 12-month course? Yeah, all my programs are 12 months, except for the program, like little programs I have here and there, and the program that comes with my book. Everything else is 12 months for good reason. I insisted on doing it. All of the business people that I tried to learn from when I was going online told me not to do it. And I'm glad I ignored them because qigong takes time and commitment. And I honestly believe that I would be doing you a disservice if I made the program shorter. Um, you know, come back when you're ready for a year. It's a year. It's not that long, and it's very affordable, right? My prices are very, very affordable. I'm not saying that everybody can afford them, but like compared to what's out there, my prices are very reasonable. Uh, so everything I do is, and I think I'm going to continue working like that, 12-month programs. Uh, I just like it better. Students commit to a year. I commit to a year with them. It all works out better. Will you reteach forms fresh, pushing mountains, etc.? Yeah, what I do is, Alex, so like in the 301, if we're recycling a form, um, I will include it in the lessons. It may be the same video from the other program, but like I don't expect you to have learned every single thing there. If I want you to do it in a 301, I will give it to you there. That makes sense. Hi, Allison. Says I have 24/7 tinnitus for 2 years now, caused by an adverse reaction to an antidepressant. Oof. Sorry to hear that. Do these ancient healing modalities know how to heal modern pharmaceutical injury? Um, yeah, because the pharmaceutical side of it doesn't matter whether it comes from a pharmaceutical or physical trauma or loud sound or something like that. Um, it's the trick is getting the chi flowing in the Chinese paradigm, right? Um, I will be completely honest with you that tinnitus is challenging. Um, it seems to be a deeper issue, and I'll tell you what I know. Um, in Chinese medicine, tinnitus is directly related to the kidney meridians and the kidney organs themselves, and that's kind of like a deep layer of healing. It takes time, basically, uh, and there's a lot of nervous system interaction with tinnitus. Like the nerves are like activated constantly 24/7, and it's a vicious loop. I can only imagine. I've never had tinnitus like that or that bad, but like I'm sure it's just exhausting for you, right? Like it probably interrupts your sleep, it probably raises your blood pressure, you're probably, you're frustrated, and probably some despair in there. I don't know, I'm just guessing. But we need to deal with all of that to deal with tinnitus. And I think qigong should absolutely be in your repertoire. You can also do the closing sequence, the heavenly drum, where we tap on the back of the head. I can't teach it now in this context, but I have even free resources to teach it, and then I teach it in the bonuses that come with my book. And if you do that, so learn the heavenly drum, and we normally say 24, but ignore that. Do it for about 2 minutes straight. Experiment with the tapping. Make sure you get the pressure on the ears right. Um, but if you get any relief, even for 30 seconds after that, uh, then you should absolutely practice qigong, like no question. That's showing that there's like room there for the nerves to calm down and that you can let the get the chi flowing and repair things. Um, but even if you don't get relief, it just means it's a different type of tinnitus. I still think the qigong is worthwhile. It's worth having in your repertoire, if only for your mental health. Um, and then, I'm not sure which program would be perfect for you. It depends on your background, Allison. Um, but whatever program you're in, if you want to wait for the 101, for example, in January, we can also work together, and I can, you know, we can experiment and see what might work best. But like, you know, we have to view things in a holistic way. So you've got this problem that's here, and probably here a little bit in your heart because it's exhausting. Um, I know you want to deal with that problem and you want to go as directly as you can. That is not how healing often works. That's a very Western way of viewing things. And even if you're doing that, even if you're taking an approach, let's say there's some Western therapy that is very good for tinnitus, stem cells, magnetic therapy. I don't know, I'm just making shit up. Um, but you would still want qigong underneath there to give you more of the holistic benefit. We have to start viewing healing as a multi-layered, multifaceted thing, not just like, oh, my ears have a problem. Let me go fix that. That's I did it yesterday. I'm going to do it again today. I often make fun of Descartes in my teachings because Descartes ruined things for us. Not true. I mean, he's probably the reason why we have iPhones and stuff. But because of his way of thinking, his Cartesian way of thinking is very mechanical, yeah, mechanistic. This isn't just like a separate part. You can't just take out your ears and your whole hearing system and then plug in a new system. That's not how we work. It's interconnected. So your tinnitus is connected to your nervous system, which is connected to your emotions, which is connected to a lot of things. And even if you're dealing with a therapy that is much more targeted, so for example, acupuncture can be much more targeted towards the problem, you still want something like qigong there to give you a more holistic benefit. Okay. Um, so you can let me know how that goes, Allison. I'm sure you can get in touch with me somehow. Let me know if the heavenly drum helps or not. That's the main thing. Well, I'll start there, at least to give you some relief and some hope, and then we can go from there. Okay. And feel free, all of you, Allison and the rest of you, like ask follow-up questions, right? If you have more to say, or if you're confused about something that I said, just ask more. Hey, Colin, good to see you here. So Colin says, I've practiced Tai Chi regularly for over 40 years. Recently had a heart attack while running. I'm sorry to hear it. I'm awaiting a cardio rehab program, but getting back slowly into my Tai Chi. Any tips? Um, I think you're a little older than me, right? I think you're 15 years older than me or so. I'm 53. I can't remember, Colin, but I think you're um, a little older than me. Uh, so first of all, like it's always important to frame things. You just had a heart attack. You're still alive. You should be dead, right? 50% of people at your age bracket, I'm not sure what your age bracket is, but I'm pretty sure is still there, that the first sign they have of any trouble is a heart attack, and that sign is fatal. So, it's probably a little demoralizing. I don't know. I'm guessing here that you're a little demoralized, that you've been doing all this Tai Chi and you still had a heart attack. But that's just how prevention works. And it depends on how you frame things. We could just as easily say that um, without all that Tai Chi over the years, you'd be dead now. Right, and if I remember correctly, you've been through a lot of stress. Didn't you have like your partner was sick or maybe even very sick? I can't remember. But something like this, I'm correct me if I'm wrong about this, but I feel like you had a lot going on in your life, so the heart attack can happen in those situations. Anyway, my tips are, first of all, keep doing your Tai Chi. Um, I can't remember if you know the 5 phase routine, but the 5 phase routine is going to be very important. If you need help working your Tai Chi into the 5 phase routine, I can help with that here or on Facebook or wherever. Um, and keep going and then follow, the Western tips, whatever they tell you to do. Uh, and just know that, this is not the end, right? You survived the hard part. Lots of people have a heart attack, recover, and then live, a long time afterwards. So, you know, be grateful for your Tai Chi, I think, is probably the first step. And then if you're not doing the 5 phase routine regularly, then I would say incorporate that. Just again, for the same reasons that I was telling uh Jules earlier, that we need to view things holistically. Oh, I didn't finish answering Jules. Let me just switch. My ADHD brain needs to pop back to that to close the loop. Um, how many hours a week will you need to invest? I clarified in the 101, but it's like 20 to 30 minutes for the lessons each week, closer to 20 for most weeks. Um, then you're expected to practice starting like 2 minutes a day and then work up to about 10 or 15 minutes a day. That's going to be, not every day in the beginning. Um, but then if you put that together, the recommended time commitment to get really good results with the 101 is like roughly 20 minutes once a week for the lessons, plus 15 to 20 minutes daily for practice, or 2 minutes, because I'm practical and realize we have to work within the constraints of real life. I feel like I'm not getting all the messages here. Maybe I am. Oh, Kimberly, you're in the 301. Good. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. Jen says, I have osteoporosis, so I'm wondering if the bone marrow washing can possibly help with actually strengthening the bones. Yeah. I mean, there's lots of things that we know what can help with osteoporosis. Qigong in general, weight bearing exercises. By the way, there is research now. This wasn't true when I was teaching like 15 years ago. We didn't know this. There's research that shows that even gentle Qigong, which doesn't have the same like weight bearing um, aspects that we normally think of for osteoporosis, it still seems to fill in holes. That's a pun was not intended, but we'll use it for osteoporosis because that's kind of what it is, right? The lattice of your bones, the lattice network is not as strong as it should be. And Qigong seems to strengthen that tissue even without the weight bearing activity. Um, but I think maybe the bone marrow washing level would help, but something in the 301 is gonna, like, you shouldn't worry about like if your goal is to improve your osteoporosis, something in the 301 is gonna help, right? This is why I sometimes just don't want to overthink things, because sure, it sounds good. Bone marrow washing, bone level, osteoporosis. That makes sense. It's like very connected dots. My ADHD brain likes that. Um, but I've learned through experience that like that's intelligence, and wisdom is something different. And wisdom is like it might be the horse stance. I don't know. You might love the horse stance and it might be what helps you, but there's plenty in the 301 that's going to give you those kinds of benefits. Christine asks if the practices in the 301 are longer than the 101 and 201. Yes. So the meditations themselves tend to be about 35 minutes long because we have more to do. In the 301, how much focus is there on balance? Not a lot. I would say that's not a real focus of the 301. No, it's really not. It's more in the 101 and also the 201. There's a lot of exercises that we work on that. So like there's other ways to get towards physical balance. Now, again, holistic healing, is the 301 going to help you with balance? Probably something in there, but you should also be targeting it elsewhere. And by the way, won't help you now, but I'm seriously thinking about doing something in the new year, probably on Substack. I'm trying to figure out ways that I can teach on Substack to experiment there. But I want to do a Tai Chi. There'll be Qigong in there as well, but we'll just call it Tai Chi like everybody else does. But specifically for balance, I did not know this until recently. I was doing some research And I did not know that there is nothing better than qigong and tai chi for uh, fall prevention and balance. I'll say that again. There is nothing better, Eastern, Western, nowhere. There is nothing better, based on the evidence, than qigong and tai chi for fall prevention and balance. I thought it was up there. I thought it was a good, there was a lot of research and people were using it, but like literally, if a doctor was going to use evidence-based medicine to recommend you something for fall prevention and balance, they should recommend qigong and tai chi. So apparently, I'm one of the world's foremost experts on fall prevention and balance, and I did not even know it. Um, there are little things that we can do, like in the 101, I have a whole little segment there on balance. There's one exercise in particular, playing with empty and solid, that's fantastic. But there's a lot that we can do, and you can make a lot of progress very quickly. And I'm thinking of teaching some of that stuff on Substack. But anyway, you should be attacking it from a couple directions, Alan. Okay, yeah. For the so Colin, in the book, I'll talk about the 5 phase routine, but then get the free bonus videos, go through that little course, and start implementing the 5 phase routine. It's going to be a game changer for you. And in short, you're going to put um, pieces of your Tai Chi form into phase 2. You'll see the same place you would put other exercises. It'll make more sense once you learn it all. Good, good discussions. Any other thoughts or questions? Did I miss anything? Did I gloss over anybody, or does anybody need more of an answer? Oh, Jen, just one more thought about osteoporosis. Another thing, again, on the topic of holistic healing. So, you know, I'm sure a doctor, whoever diagnosed the osteoporosis, they're going to tell you things that you can do to improve your bone density. Mm. But what doctors don't do, and I think at this point it's almost shameful. Those of you who don't know me, I've got one foot in each camp. I'm not against Western medicine. I'm obviously in the Eastern medicine uh, paradigm, but I work with Western medicine professionals all the time. A lot of my students, more than you would think, are Western doctors, researchers, healthcare practitioners of all levels. Um, but I am honest and transparent when I need to criticize Western medicine and its failings. And I think that with all the evidence that we have now for the benefits of exercise and movement, even low levels of exercise and movement, Western doctors do not do a good job of dealing with the mental emotional component of exercise. They will tell you what you need to do, and then that's it. And it's like, you know, too bad, you're on your own. And I saw the same thing with Qigong teachers decades ago, and it pissed me off. I was like, what the fuck? Like, you're going to teach us all this stuff, but then not hold our hand at all to help us practice? It's basically like there's a phrase in Chinese, I forget the phrase exactly, but basically it translates to heaven's will. So teachers will often absolve themselves of responsibility, like, oh, my student's not practicing, not my problem. It's heaven's will. I think that's shameful. I think education is incredibly important on many levels. Doctors should also be educators, and they should be helping you, Jen, with your osteoporosis and like getting on a good track to practice. Probably they're not. If they are, I'm very happy to hear that. But qigong is one of those things that will help with these things. I call it the gateway to many other types of healing because there's an identity shift when you really start getting some momentum with qigong. Well, I'm somebody who practices qigong, so I'm also somebody who might eat a little healthier, and maybe I'll go for a walk, or maybe, you know what, I'm just going to do a little bit of weightlifting, nothing serious. I'm just going to do a little bit. And, I've got the time and energy for that now. Like, so view Qigong also as the gateway to other healthy habits. That's how I quit smoking and drinking, was with Qigong, by adding Qigong first. Message is retracted. Uh-oh. What does that mean? You change your mind, I assume. That doesn't mean they were hidden or something, or I don't know what message. I assume that means that you guys retracted your own messages. Okay, yeah, Jen, you were very welcome. Okay, other thoughts or questions? You have this time, you can point me in a direction if you want to point my ADHD brain at something. For those who don't know me very well, I have a tendency to rant. My the joke is that my ADHD brain is, it's a struggle for me. I mean, I've written about it and how it's been a challenge for me in life, but it's also very much a superpower and it has served me very well, especially my particular type of brain has been very useful for me, both learning and teaching qigong. But students also get used to it, and they know that they can sort of get me to rant on a particular topic, and I'll just sort of go. That's just how my brain works. So if you have a particular topic that you want me to rant on, please feel free to poke the bear a little bit. The cost of the one-on-one is the same as all my programs. All my programs are the same price, with the exception of the teacher training, which is a real professional track, so that'll be a little bit different. In fact, I just had a student recently was like really grateful and thanking me that the 301 wasn't much more expensive because I guess it's true. I've seen it out there that like the advanced practices because they kind of got you. If you want to learn that stuff, you're in it, and what are you going to do? I don't like that, so my 301 is the same as all the other programs. They're basically $600 a year or 60 bucks a month, depending on which payment plan you choose. Um, so it's, like a gym membership. That's the way you should view it. I don't know what gym memberships cost in other countries, but in the US, that's what a cheap gym membership costs, I guess. So view it that way. And that's what it is because it's a membership in a community for a year. And then those of you who don't know how my programs go, they're really longer than a year. We go 12 months. You get bonuses afterwards that almost always add up to at least an additional month of work that you would just then be sort of doing on your own. And then the community continues afterwards. You sort of get lifetime access to the communities. And you can retake the program the following year with all the new bonuses, with the same community benefits, with everything. Like you get access to the new group of students and everything, all the emails, all the webinars, everything. You can retake it for a very reasonable fee. Right now, that fee is $75 to retake for another 12 months. So when I say 12 months, it's really a lot more than that. It's well worth the investment. I don't know how to talk to people about this because like money is a difficult topic, especially in the United States right now. I totally get it. I was at a poverty level for much of my life. Um, I'm in a good place now, but I know what it's like to struggle with money a lot. And I empathize with that. However, like you gotta at some point make a commitment. And I feel that like for Americans at least, $600 for a year of training, that's literally half what it would cost in my studio. And $600, I mean, especially I pay $600 a month for health insurance that I don't use. And for the Europeans here, I pay $600 a month. You know what that gets me? That gets me an $8,000 deductible. So that means I have to spend $8,000 on my health. With if some things will be a little bit paid for, taken care of, but like basically I've got to get up to $8,000 and then they'll start paying. So that's what the $600 a month gives me the right to. It's madness here. It's absolute madness. Um, but not everybody pays $600 a month, 400, 300. But like the point is that if you are serious about this stuff can transform your life, and $600 is very reasonable. So I put that for all my programs. 101, 201, 301, all the prices are the same. Uh, it's okay if your English is not so good. You could ask a question. You could use Google Translate. You could just do your best to ask a question if you want. Email is not the greatest way to reach me because a lot of them get lost. But if you want to, just quickly use Google Translate, I'm happy to try. Your English is better than my Italian, so I'm happy to try if you want to try. Yeah, gym membership, I think, is a good way to look at it. And then if we compare it to like talk therapy, I used to pay, it's very different from where you are. Health insurance sometimes covers it, sometimes it doesn't. But I've spent years paying $100 a session for therapy. Um, Even if you only do that twice a month, that's still $200 a month, right? Acupuncture, even a reasonable acupuncturist is going to charge, I don't know, 75 or $100. That's probably very cheap for a full acupuncture session. So again, you do that twice a month, it adds up. I mean, I'm a fan of acupuncture. I think it's fantastic. I went to acupuncture college, and there's more and more evidence now. Um, but these things are pricey. Uh, Herbal medicine, if you go to an acupuncturist and you get a good herbal formula, you could easily spend $100 a month just on like, not on the treatment or the diagnosis from the physician, but on the herbs themselves. Um, there's a lot of things in life that can cost you $600 and not give you nearly as much of benefit for as long. Oh, and the other thing to keep in mind, you spend the $600, let's say life happens, you don't take full advantage of the course, you keep it. That's another thing that I did. I decided, like, again, the business gurus were telling me not to do it, force you to pay for it again. It's your fault if you don't practice. I don't want to shame people. I want you to practice qigong. So if you take any of my programs, you do well for a while, life kicks in, you fall off the wagon, you got to finish your payments, right? If you're on a payment plan, you got to finish your payments, but you keep what you pay for, right? So you can come back to it later. The entry back into qigong is easy. You already made that commitment. Life got in the way. Shit happens. I get it. So then you come back later. You can do it on your own for free. If you want to get the group energy again, you pay 75 bucks and you're doing it the whole thing again, the same experience as the first time around. So I'm making it easy for you to come back, because almost everybody will fall at some point at all levels. This is true of all of my programs, 101, 201, and 301. People fall down, or they get in a rut, they get in a plateau, life happens, a partner dies, a pet dies, they get in a car accident, something happens, they can't finish the program. And I'm not going to punish people for falling off the wagon. Read my book. The whole first section of the book is like, here's how Anthony failed again. And then you think it's over. It's like, oh, look, he failed again. You think it's over. Oh, no, here he failed again. Like, I get it. So failure is part of the process, it's part of the art of mastery. As someone who is just a little bit older than you and has never practiced, how will I know I'm doing the moves correctly if I'm concerned about hurting myself? So, Lynn, probably the 101 is the program that you're looking for then. Uh, so you're coming from a Western paradigm, and also a lot of qigong teachers reinforce this, which is unfortunate, and it's a problem. And I've been speaking out against it for over 20 years. The physical aspect of qigong is the least important aspect. Get my book, get the free courses that come with it. It'll explain it in more detail. But like, you're not going to hurt yourself with these exercises. You're not going to hurt yourself physically or energetically. They do not need to be perfect. One of the major tenets of my teaching, I say it over and over again, is to butcher the form. This is a form of moving meditation. The meditation aspect is paramount. It's the most important thing. You're not going to hurt yourself. You're at far more risk every time you get into your car or cross a street. Exercising, even like basic Western exercise, there's no physical endeavor you can take that doesn't carry some risk. Uh, Qigong is lower than all of those. There's no risk like that. Like, people have demonized qigong, and the gatekeepers have made it seem like it's hard, and oh, the form has to be perfect. It's all bullshit. You can use very sloppy form as long as you're having a grand old time. You're doing it meditatively. You're enjoying yourself. You're breathing. You're following my instructions. You're following the 5 phase routine. You are going to get results. I promise you will not explode from the qigong. Alex says, do you feel it's having so much present and future course to teach and manage that you'll still be able to give enough time to your students, questions or webinars? Yeah, one way or another, I'm going to continue giving. Um, you know, if I cut down on what I'm giving, uh, like, it would be one webinar less, or more likely what I'm probably going to do in the future is start merging webinars. So we'll have some webinars that are dedicated to the course itself, but then some open webinars, and maybe that'll cut down on my webinar time, sort of all year. Like, I'll have to do fewer per year so that I can free up for other programs, but it's going to be negligible for you guys. Plus, the thing to keep in mind is that these courses build momentum. Like, now the 101 is much easier for me to teach than it was in the beginning, because I have this the community. It's like, you know, it's like having a big family, but in this case, I've got literally thousands of students. Not all of them are active, people come and go, but like there's people who will help you guys. And that wasn't the case years ago. So when I first started teaching, uh, it required everything to do the 101. And then the same when I added the 201 and now the 301. But then things even out for a while and they get a little bit easier to teach. Plus, I'm Melissa will laugh. I'm sort of the world's worst boss, and I'm not. I've managed to run a sustainable business all these years, so I suppose I'm not bad at it. I think it's mostly qigong that gets the credit. Um, but the better I am at running a business and managing things, the easier it is for me to do some of this other stuff as well. Hi, Vera. Haven't seen you in a while. Oh, you had a total hip replacement. I'm given some physio exercises for the hip after getting wry neck, excruciating pain. I'm looking forward to 301. Okay, fantastic. Um, I mean, you're at that age, right? The hip replacement is probably going to be a great thing. Like as long as the surgery is good and the recovery is good and you don't try to force things too fast, like I wouldn't be surprised if, 6 months from now, you're able to do things with your Tai Chi, especially that you had been struggling with for a while. Like the hip replacement may end up being a good thing. Um, the 301 is going to be, I guess I just assumed you were in the 301, but I guess I was assumed wrong. Anyway, you're going to love it. It's going to be fantastic for you. Okay. Is it essential to have practiced the routine for 6 months? I practice Tai Chi 5 times a week for an hour, including a 15-minute Qigong session. Is that enough to take on the 301 without concerns? So it depends on whether or not you're very comfortable with the 5 phase routine already. I say 6 months, I think, in the prerequisites, but you need to know my 5 phase routine, which you can learn from my book or the 101 or the 201 programs. But if you're just trying to learn that now, then it might be too much. You have a lot of good experience, but that experience is also going to benefit you in the 101 and 201 programs. But the 5 phase routine, I don't teach it at all in the 301, so you need to learn it someplace. And really, you need to have comfort. Like, so everybody else, the students who are joining the 301 and already in there, they know the 5 phase routine easily. They just know it. They can get through it. They know how to manage it, and I won't have to deal with that at all in the 301. So if you're not quite there yet, that's fine. Maybe join the 101 in January. Uh, if you really want to join the 301, then you better get my book. I don't. I guess you'll have to translate it somehow. But get the online courses that come with it. Go through them now and just learn the 5 phase routine intensively over the next couple weeks. How many years has the 301 been going on? So I've been teaching the material for a long time, right? But in my studio, and I only started teaching it online. The first iteration was in 2023 when I did a 12-week program on the small universe only. It was kind of like a mini course. Then the following year, I rolled that into the 301. So that was 2024, we started a year ago. So that was the first full iteration of the 301. So this will be sort of the second full lap of the 301. And we had a fantastic group last year, fantastic program, really good group. But this year we'll also iron out some of the kinks, because some of it was, let me try this way or let me try that way. So, I always adapt things a little bit. So the second year through, we'll make little tweaks and it'll be even better. Uh, After doing the 101 this year, I've decided to stop weightlifting because it's just tensing my muscles too much. My mind makes me tense enough without it. Moving on with 301, I want to start Tai Chi too. Well, we can lift weights and work on strength in the 101. There's a lot of material there, squatting and other exercises. In the 301, you're going to learn the horse stance to build strength. In the 201, there's exercises that are kind of like push-ups. So, if you don't like weightlifting, don't do it. Find other ways to build strength and other things to move and exercise. Like if you love qigong, do qigong. The only way that I can train strength training consistently is by making it part of my qigong and tai chi. Like if I do push-ups, I have to tell myself, oh, I got to do push-ups because it makes me punch harder. And I'm a martial artist and I like to punch harder. I got to trick myself. because I don't like doing it. So figure out how your brain works and find what works for you. Anna says, I've been having an allergic cough crisis for a couple of months and I have been doing some exercises and it doesn't go away. Which are the best ones that I should practice? I'm sorry. Yeah, that sounds awful. Learn the 5 phase routine. I don't know when you popped in, Anna, if you've been here the whole time, but you need that whole, like, we don't know, especially if we don't know exactly what's going on, or we only have a little idea. If any time that Western medicine is confused about what's going on, people should be doing not just Qigong, but the 5 phase routine. You need to learn and understand what the 5 phase routine, understand why it works better than other Qigong methods, because it's a Qigong method. It's a traditional method, but it's like uh, other qigong schools are not as holistic and cannot help you like the 5 phase routine. And I'm just saying this because it's for your benefit. I don't mean to put down other schools. This is just the raw truth that their methods are not as holistic. Often there are other good schools out there, but like across the board, if you're just doing qigong forms, basically, you're just going through the motions. That is not the same as the 5 phase routine, because the 5 phase routine does not need to target. It boosts all of your healing simultaneously. So whatever's going on is going to help. So get my book, learn the 5 phase routine from the free videos, the bonus videos. Take the 101. If you already know the 5 phase routine, then you got to up your dosage. But anytime there's something like this that we don't know what's going on, we got to use the 5 phase routine. It should be one of your prime. It may not be your only therapy, but it should be one of your primary therapies. And at the very least, it's going to help you with the exhaustion, because it sounds exhausting. If you have no chronic pain, Vera, things are going to be totally different. Like, that's going to be a game changer. Like, this is where sometimes people, they like to talk about chi in mysterious terms, but not in real world terms. Pain is a blockage of chi. Lack of pain means your chi is flowing better. Just that simple. This is absolutely in line with Chinese medicine. I'm not saying anything controversial here. If it's controversial, it's because they don't understand Chinese medicine. So, especially once you get out of the pain from the surgery, my sister-in-law just had hip surgery, hip replacement, and the pain was pretty good for her. She was okay. So once you get out of pain and you start going through the rehab, you get back into action, your chi's going to be flowing even better than ever, or better than, maybe not better than ever, maybe not better than when you were 18, but you know what I mean. Okie dokie. Well, let's wrap it up. This is good. I appreciate you all coming. This is a good group, a lot of good questions here. Does anybody have any other last minute questions for me before we call it a day? I will be going live tomorrow. I forget the schedule, but if you're on the email list, you should be getting it. I think tomorrow is Instagram, and then the following day is Substack. And then I'm probably going to keep doing this. So if you would like to come back for a round 2 of this, I'll probably be doing some more lives. I think YouTube, honestly, what do you guys think? Especially a few of you were in the Facebook yesterday. Is this better? This was much, much smoother for me than Facebook. So maybe I'll just do it here. Dave, it's not just excess chi. The word that you're looking for there is a Chinese medicine term, is stagnant chi. So in Chinese medicine, stagnation, not just of chi, but of blood, causes pain. There's a saying in Chinese, where there is stagnation, there is, sorry, where there is pain, there is stagnation. And if there's stagnation, we can assume there's um, chi stagnation. Now, does that mean excess chi? Yes, because there's stagnation pooling there, but that's not what excess chi means. Like, excess chi is really like an excess of chi in the whole system. The whole system is kind of overactive. So stagnation can appear like excess. I'm splitting hairs a little bit here, but excess chi can appear like stagnation. Uh, I got that backwards. Stagnation can appear like excess chi, but it's not exactly the same. Okay, the video is clearer too. That's good to know. Okay. I dislike Meta so much, so any excuse I have to not use them. I honestly, I'm only there because of you guys. Because I have to be there for Facebook, for my teaching, because so many people follow me on Facebook. Ugh, but I hate it. Not excessive flow is more of the excess chi that I'm talking about. That the organ itself is too young. as opposed to yin, and it's excessive, and there's a overabundance of energy like in that system. But like you could have a weak meridian that has a deficiency of chi, but also have stagnation there. It gets confusing. Anyway, I probably didn't need to split those hairs. Good. Okay, so everybody seems to agree that YouTube is better than um, Facebook. Yeah, no more Meta would be nice. But then what are you going to do? Like, YouTube is evil too, right? Google literally dropped their, I remember when Google adopted that phrase, don't be evil, and then they dropped it. So they're less evil maybe, or currently less evil. I don't know, but it's just like, what are you going to do? Oh, you could comment on each other's comments, and you can't do that here. You can't like somehow. Oh, I have all sorts of interesting options here. I can put, this is literally an option here. Put user in timeout. That's funny. They get credit for humor there. Okay, well, I'm going to be doing more of these. I'll probably do some more on YouTube. So keep an eye on that. I assume you guys all got the email. Otherwise, I'm not sure how you would have found me. But there'll be plenty more opportunities if you have questions. And if you have questions that pop up over the next couple of days, just write them down and then bring them in and we can chat about them because you might forget. What is my opinion on Shabashir? I think it's a good modern set that a lot of people benefit from. Um, I think a lot of people who have spent a lot of time with Shabashir or Shabashi, in Chinese, it's Shabashir. Um, I'm not sure how people say it in the West. Shabashi? Shibashi? I don't know how they say it. It- a lot of people, including Shabashir teachers, sorry, my dog is coughing, but I think he's okay. They come and they learn from me and they benefit a lot. So I think it's gonna help you a lot. And then probably what you'll end up doing is incorporating Shabashra into the 5 phase routine. That's what a lot of people end up doing. How would you call single lessons with people who don't just include Qigong, but life advice based on the Tao philosophy? I don't want to call it coaching because I hate that term. Single lessons. I assume you mean private lessons. So I'm going to assume that's what you mean. So how would you call private lessons with people who don't just include Qigong, but life advice? I mean, that's what they call it coaching, probably, right? Like, um, I'm seeing more and more qigong out there. I'm seeing like these people talking about breath work, and then I take a peek in, and it's like that's qigong. Nervous system regulation, trauma regulation. I look in, it's like that's a qigong exercise. They don't even mention qigong, but it's literally just a qigong exercise. Um, and then I see a lot of more life coaches using qigong, which I guess I support if they're teaching it well, because like a lot of the changes, again, not to bring up my pricing again, but like $600 of qigong is worth so much because it's what's actually going to change your life because there's action involved and all of the effort required to build up a habit of qigong with all the falling down that happens with many of us, but the effort that it takes is worth it to build up a habit of qigong because when you get that habit of qigong going, so many things are going to change in your life. um, so I guess I can't blame these other people for incorporating qigong because they know that somatic, especially ancient practices like qigong, are going to be incredibly helpful. Yeah, I think shabashers can be called basic qigong, but I think it can be elevated, right? So I'll give you an example. You take shabasher, which is a modern set, right? It was invented in the 1970s by Lee, I forget his name, Lee Hongshu or Hongsheng. I forget his name. I'm sorry. I should know it. Um, but he took a bunch of exercises from different traditions, both qigong and tai chi, put them together in an intelligent way, which I appreciate. I support that. Um, I don't like that you have to practice all 18. I don't think that's necessary, but you can certainly take those exercises, plug them into the 5 phase routine. You'll get really good results. But then you can take a lot of those exercises and use them for the 301 material. So, like for bone marrow washing, for example, or cosmic shower, some of those would be good for that. And I don't really practice Shabasha, so I'm not going to teach that stuff, but like you'll figure it out where those exercises are helpful. So you can take like pushing mountains is a basic exercise that I teach, but then you can also use it for bone marrow washing. So you can take these exercises and elevate them, right? It's like those cooking shows where they take like a basic dish, like they'll take, like chili, like the soup, with meat and beans and stuff. They'll take that and make an elevated chili or something like that. That's what we're doing. So I'm not sure if I answered your question, Sternenherz. I'm not sure how to say that. Sternenherz. I took German for 2 years. Sometimes I revert to German. Thank you. Zoe says, you're more understanding and supportive of people's tendency to not practice than I've seen anywhere. You give the best tools. It's because of human nature. Like we just have to view human nature. And what I don't understand is how Qigong teachers, especially if they make their livelihood from it, is in their best interest to encourage their students to practice and to figure out ways to help them practice. Um, I've been doing this for literally 20 years. It was not long into my qigong teaching career where I quickly realized, some of you have heard the story, but I was like, oh fuck, like I can't just teach the material. I have to help them practice. And like I thought I was gonna here's what my life went. I thought I was gonna be just teaching qigong. That was gonna be like 90 or 100% of my time. And then I was like, oh, I need to save at least 50% of my time to helping people build habits. And then I was like, wait a second, that's part of teaching anyway. But then I realized I had to do all this administrative work as well. But like helping students develop habits, empathizing with them when they struggle, when life gets in the way, that is part of teaching, right? If you're an educator, you have to deal with those things. You cannot just give your students the information and then tell them to go do it themselves. That's not what teaching is. So anyway, that's how I feel. And I'm sort of shocked that other teachers don't do more of that. Anyway, I got to run. Thank you, everybody. This was good. We'll do more of these. And maybe I'll just come back to YouTube because it was so easy and so smooth. Uh, not just this coming week, but like in general, because YouTube seems to be a good place for this stuff. Cheat deviation. Okay, so you can check out that article, Jen. Um, uh, yeah, cheat deviation is an actual thing. It's I don't have time to talk about it now. You can read the article. There's also the other blog, the other article, right? Or is that the one? Wait, let me click on it. Yeah, that's the article. Sorry, that's the one that you need. That'll explain a lot. The short answer, Jen, is that a lot of people who are dealing with deviation, it's not, but they've been told that it is, and they're sort of spinning out. The mind is incredibly powerful, and if somebody's struggling with mental health issues, a variety of them, they can sort of spin out, right, and crash, and that affects their energy. It's very fixable if they trust me and do what I tell them to do. And it's still fixable. They might just need to find somebody else. But if they want me to help them fix it, I can do it. My book and the 5-phase routine will help them, and then I can help them along the way. But it's very fixable, this stuff. But they have to really trust me, do the 5-phase routine, and let go of some of these ideas of like kind of like the who asked earlier. I can't remember who asked earlier, but like they were afraid of injuring themselves. This stuff is out there. These negative seeds. It's called nocebo. It's the opposite of the placebo effect. They get into your mind and they do a lot of damage. So it's kind of like curses or voodoo or something like that. I don't mean to mischaracterize voodoo, but something like that, where if you believe, like if somebody says, "Oh, I've put a curse on you," or if a witch says, "Oh, I've put a hex on you or a spell on you," I do not believe it. You can argue with me. You can say that magic is real. I believe in other kinds of magic. I don't believe in those kinds of magic. The fact that I do not believe in it protects me, right? There are other ways of protection. You can use magic, to get your mind wrapped. But the fact, like, my mind is so strongly convicted on that issue that it's not going to be a problem for me. Whereas if somebody, you know, uh, uh, doesn't believe it, they're not as convicted, and somebody says, "Oh, I put a hex on you," or this exercise is going to hurt you, or you know, whatever it is, the health trend that you're worried about, that nocebo effect can spiral and it can cause a lot of damage. And that's what we have to work with. So they have to be open and willing to learn qigong. They have to trust me and appreciate my approach. And then if not, they got to find somebody else that can work with it. But it's very fixable. Words have power. Yeah. Words have power because of the mind. It's, I would say the words themselves don't have power. It's how they are received that have power, right? Because the same words could have a tremendous effect on one person, but not on another. Okay, folks, I got to run. Thank you so much. This was awesome. I will see you again soon. Take care. And I think the replay will be probably the same link. I'm pretty sure it's the exact same link if you want to watch the replay. Okay. Take care, everyone. Yeah, the 301. I think everybody knows that the enrollment is open. It's right there. Melissa just put it in. Thank you for that. Enrollment is open until November 10th. Okay. Really got to go. Bye, everybody. Take care.